today's video, we're going to show you how to do an oil change on a 2002 to 2003 Yamaha R1. We're going to first start with the right side lower cowl. Take off the 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3. One right there. There is one right here. Take off that one, and then there will be one underneath here, right up there. And then we'll hop over to the other side. Next, on the left side of the bike, there is 2 bolts here, one there. There will be one right here, and there will be another one that goes right into there. So take that out. As you can see, the lower cowl will drop down, and then pull this out of the way. Now, technically, if you wanted to, you can change the oil without taking off this left side panel. I will take it off just for the heck of it, because I do want to clean up in here, get some engine degreaser and clean this all up so it's nice and fresh. But technically, you could start your bike up, get it to operating temperature, drop the oil with the 17mm nut, take that off, it will drop, and you can technically take off the oil filter. You can see it right there. You do have space to do it, but just for purposes of this video, I'm going to take this one off to show you, just so you have a better view of it. Now we'll start the bike up, and then we'll get the oil changed. Our bike is up to temp. We're at 214 degrees. Now we're going to take our 17mm ratchet or socket and crack that nut. I'm going to wear gloves because it is going to be hot, so be careful while the oil is draining into the oil pan. Next, take off your oil cap to get more filtration through there. There is a rubber gasket on the inside of this thing. This one is actually missing it. It's supposed to be right inside here where my thumb is pointing to. It goes around there. So make sure you don't lose that as you're taking it off. Sometimes it sticks to here as well. Next, we'll need a tool like this that will go on to the oil filter, like so. You put that on there, and you get your ratchet in there. There should be enough room in between here and there, and then you'll just unscrew it and let that drain out. It's going to go down. You're going to grab this thing and pour it into there. So before you loosen this thing up, put tin foil on your exhaust, just so that when you're taking this off, it doesn't drip all over the exhaust, and it will go right into the oil pan over here. And like I said, we'll just start turning this. It's going to drip out. I'm actually, since this thing's loose enough, I'm going to take this off of here, take this tool off, and then I could take it off by hand. You can see it's already starting to drip out. So we'll let this drain for a bit and get all the excess oil out. So the bike has stopped dripping oil. We did take it off the stand, and we carefully leaned the bike to the side and to the other side, and actually more oil came out. So that is some good practice to do. Obviously, be careful and do not drop the bike. After that, you're gonna make sure your threads on your oil bolt is nice and clean. Take off the old crush washer. You can reuse them a couple times, but in good measure, we're gonna use a new one. Clean the threads for the drain bolt hole, and clean around this surface area around here and the threads on there. All right, we got our new crush washer on here. The flat end goes down and the rounded end goes up. Here is the part number for an OEM crush washer if you need it. And here is the part number for an OEM oil filter. I always use the OEM oil filters. These are probably the best thing to do. You can use other ones, but this is just what I use, along with Amsoil 10W40. All right, so I'm going to screw this in by hand first, get it all the way tight. Then we'll torque this thing to 43 Newton meters, which is basically 32 foot-pounds. But for good measure, we're just going to do 31 foot-pounds, and that should be plenty. Next thing I did was I took off the cap, put a little bit of oil in there. Even though this thing does come a little bit pre-greased, it's always good measure just to dip your finger in here and wipe it around the surface a lot after you take off this plastic cover, obviously. Once you get that all done, then put it onto the block right there. Screw it on and make it tight as possible by hand. Then you could use your tool and just snug it up a tiny bit. Next, get a clean funnel and then pour that 1 quart in there, and then just make sure you don't have any leaks before you start putting the other ones in. It's going to take a little bit over 3 quarts. I would put 3 quarts in at first, and then it will probably be somewhat high on here. We'll start the bike for a minute and then let it stop and drain, and then we refill as necessary. Make sure it's definitely at least to the halfway mark. I like to go 3/4 way. I made sure that there was no leaks, so now we'll put our other 2 quarts in. As you can see, with the 3 quarts, after changing the oil filter, it got it basically right to the halfway mark. But now we're going to start the bike, and you will see that this will drain. And then we'll let it run for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, shut it off, let it sit for like a half hour, and then we'll slowly refill this to where it needs to be. Now, since this exhaust is cracked and it's broken all over the place, the bike's going to sound like crap, but that's not the point. We just want to show you that this thing obviously drains down when we start it. So we let the bike sit for a bit, and as you can see, the oil level is not all the way full. So we're going to start putting some more into there to get it up to where it needs to be. When you're doing this, just do a little bit at a time, because sometimes it's going to rise up quicker than you think it is. All right, with the bike not on the stand, we filled this thing up to that top line dot, and you are good to go. Just put the 2 bottom fairings back on, and you are all set.